Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 23rd till 29th, 2024. Of course, I would like to begin by wishing absolutely everyone blessed winter celebrations. Maybe the word winter is not appropriate because on the other hemisphere it's actually summer, but please put it into context. So blessed celebrations, whatever that means for you geographically, culturally, religiously, etc. I actually refrained from using the word happy, and this with a purpose. Happiness, on one hand, is something that so very many souls, regardless on which end of the whale they are at the present moment, are not really experiencing. This is where it's actually the 3D shell, the part of the matrix which makes the real real, that it's under a lot of, let's say, unhappiness. But in a certain way, all of us, even those of us for whom the physical matrix is not necessarily affected in such a way. And please excuse my more hyperbolic way of speaking, but I think you kind of understand why I'm being extra careful, because this really isn't the moment to upset anyone. Because everyone, if anything, needs their own peace. And yeah, a horoscope shouldn't be a source for any type of philosophical inner conflict. What this means, what that means, my culture, their culture, and the ugliness that is going on in the world. Well, I'm not gonna name it. I'm not gonna give it a name, because if I speak it out, I consolidate it, and I'm not living in ignorance because I acknowledge it, but I rather just give the architecture rather than the actual building, because the actual building is so horrendous that I don't even want to look at it, only how it became it. So this is why I'm not speaking very literally, not because I'm a coward, not because I am very politically sensitive but because I don't want to consolidate the ugly, but neither am I ignoring it. So again, happiness. All of us are forced, almost, in one way, one area of our lives. As I said, especially those of us who are not collectively forced on a 3D type of crisis, what happiness means. And this is because all of the week is unfolding under Saturn squaring Jupiter. Uh, on one hand, this is the second of their squares, where in this specific configuration, Saturn is the one who's going direct, and Jupiter is retrograde. And they will have a third square, but in different signs. So that's different, even. So, but this square is highly philosophical, regardless of how we look at it. Whatever Saturn drives us to ask certain questions. Of course, as I said, some souls, because the physical world around them is literally burning. Why? Or, anything that any big existential human being, human race, earthly relation to the divine question that results from it. Of course, basically everyone is asking the same question, but for some, the sky is literally burning over them. For others, they see this in they live this in a more empathic way, right? But all of us are asking big questions. Some of those answers are actually coming. The answers that are coming in the signs themselves here, Gemini, Pisces, this is the fuel of the friction, right? Is illusionary. What I mean is there is so much external information can offer us. And what it can offer us is the wrong. But that's useful because we know what not to trust. That is very, very useful. Especially if what not to trust just offers itself on a plate. Hey, don't trust me. Well, that means that whatever is trustworthy is so subjective or so interiorized that yeah, it can offer itself on a plate because it doesn't really do anything other than, to cross out something else. Well, I don't trust this, I don't trust that. This so the fact that almost anything external is becoming less and less and less trustworthy by the day, if not by the hour, is scary, is okay, sad. Pisces. Sadness is one of Pisces's sides, if I'm allowed to use this term. But as sad as it is, at least we are not seeking anything in the wrong direction. On no, at the end of the day, that's positive. And the other side, it is pointing to where we need to seek the answers, and that's inside of ourselves. But that's not easier because that needs a lot of self-knowledge, a journey that all of us are profoundly, uncomfortably, not the way we envisaged, not the way we want it. It's a nightmare, but we're knowing ourselves, especially with the recent Plutonian actually not even recent. It's ongoing right now. Pluto opposing Mars. We're seeing also that which usually we don't even want to look at in the self. This is where we're feeling things. The Pandora's box is open within us and we're looking at it. But a side of it is scary. What's wrong with me? Or have I snapped? Or why am I feeling this? Maybe we're feeling feelings. I know how this sounded. That are atypical to us, or we kept them under total balance and control all of our lives with ease, and now this is part of the picture. This is moments of brutal honesty, but those in themselves are very empowering. But again, we need to look at all of what we're seeing, feeling, etc., in order to come up with valid inner knowledge. Because the inner knowledge must be authentic. It cannot come from a book. I'm sorry, any book, any course, any ancient wisdom, anything, please understand anything, is just the first step, a guide. But the realness is when there's no external reference. You and yourself and the divine or whatever, cook it up, conjure it up, get the truth, what truth means to you. This is such a week, this is such a period, this is such a Christmas for us who call it Christmas. Of course, all of this ties into the Capricorn solstice that happened just a few days before. So on the 21st of December. It's all interconnected. It's all tied into so a big truth-seeking energy. But what we may not necessarily understand. Actually, it is the importance of this that we don't quite put into the frame correctly. That there are certain things in life that right now, as we speak, like it or not, be able or not, because not everyone's born a philosopher. For some people, philosophical thinking is pure torture, like a horror movie. I don't want it. And that doesn't mean anything because it's exactly those archetypes that are hyper, for example, instinctual. So it's balanced. The philosophy is not their world, not their, you know, not their matter. However, everyone has a Jupiter inside of them. When that Jupiter must provide, then even non-philosophers must their own unique, of course, way with their own raw, instinctual, natural tools give a meaning to what is and what is gonna be. That is a bit more important. What because we must give a meaning to what's gonna be. The way, the puzzle adds in together is where if you're every single one of us is a cell composing of the human collective, which can be seen, understood as almost like a living entity, like sponge, for example, composed of millions of individual cells which do have autonomy, but they chose to co-exist or stick together literally. We're not all that much different in the big picture wise. So we do need each other. We do need to provide to the collective. And when we're being asked, of course, understand this symbolically, what this and that means to you, very subjectively, personally, without the collective influence, then we need to give that. So the fact that non-philosophers really have to brainstorm just as well, you know, this is why friendships exist, Gemini. Non-philosophers can have the easiest job ever if they have a really good philosopher friend who they right now's the moment to visit and be extra nice to, because that person, that boy or girl has like double muscles, like they're really built in philosophy. So for them, it's a piece of cake to inspire you, but in a way, a being that exists in that dimension comfortably can, right? This is where it's almost like you can swim. You don't even trust the rubber ducky. No, you don't trust the water. But then there comes the dolphin, a being from the very dimension of water, who friendship, intelligence, your knowledge of course you immediately are in the water and the dolphin swims you or however you want to call it. The dolphin takes care of you perfectly. This is the situation. That friend who is who that's his, for example, passion, or that's him, her, that's when Jupiter in Gemini can really give its best side ever, because it has a lot of not so good sides about it. And I think all of us Gemini, Sun or Moon Geminis, do understand what I'm saying here, because it can really drive us nuts. But in a way where we're okay with, we are not necessarily suffering from insanity, but those around us are from our hyper, you know? Yeah, so Gemini, bro, sis, hold out, because somehow we and everyone around us will live through this. It's gonna be okay. No one's gonna be locked into the mental institution. Somehow we'll pull through this. So this Christmas or these winter holidays, the keyword here is keep it sane as much as you possibly can. But I think this is like a general advice. You don't need to have some Gemini sun moon to for this to exist in your life, because everyone has a Gemini part in their chart, so their soul, their being, which is gonna be on overdrive. And many people have this exactly in certain astrological houses where people are involved. So for them, the Gemini is an actual Gemini person in their lives. So me, I'm one of that Gemini person in other people's lives. And there are certain people for whom, in funny ways, are loaded with Gemini souls. And I'm one of them. So this is where sometimes I help that person as an astrologer, but as just the Gemini, non-professional, as a friend, acquaintance, or just the guy. I drive them just as insane as every other Gemini, and as the Geminis, they complain about to me as the astrologer, right? I'm just as bad as them. It's so funny sometimes, but at the same time, when they're actually the same goes for Pisces. Just that for Pisces natives, this energy and this square is felt in a totally different way. In a way, for example, like I know that I'm a little bit insane right now and I feel everything, but I'm Pisces. But why is everyone else the same right now as me? Why is everyone else living in their own insanity? Because no, 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 no. Only me, everyone else lives in the real world. So where's my anchor in the real world? So this is Pisces natives where, oh my goodness, for example, mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, child, whoever is usually my anchor in the real world, well, right now they're more fish, Pisces, fishy than me. What the hell? As in Pisces natives, how did I end up being the realist? I don't like it. No, 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 no. Why me? Universe, put me back into my fish tank right now. I don't like this. So it's not easy for anyone, right? Neither Gemini, neither Pisces. Well, for Taurus, they don't even feel it anymore. It's like almost like a miniature karmic Stockholm syndrome. They don't even feel it anymore. Aries are also, in a way, it's not even rage. They're even over the arrangement doesn't happen that easy anymore. And which you can imagine for Aries natives is like, how is this reality? Is this possible? But I'm living it, weirdly enough. Since it's Mars retrograde, in this phase of the retrograde, it's not easy for Leo natives either. Because for Leo natives, the autopilot, something's wrong with it right now. Does it have a software glitch or a virus, or why is the autopilot not doing what it should, what it does every single? Is this some kind of weird inner Mercury retrograde period which has nothing to do with the real Mercury? But then again, the clock is ticking for Cancer natives. They may have a moment of respite right now, but they feel Mars moving back into them in that sense, not in any other sense, right? Especially, and astrologer friends understand this joke, Mars, right? They know that Mars is gonna be there very, very soon, so they're gonna be Marsed. So that gives them a certain duality, because moment of respite, I'm drinking, I'm feeding myself, I'm warm, I'm comfy, I'm cozy, I'm hugging, but I know that after, Christmas is over or going into January, I'm gonna be in it big time. Maybe a job situation, career situation, if you're a student, God help you. So yes. But in its own unique way, every sign has it hard, because every sign is ruled by a planet, and chances are every planet is tripping in a different kind of way right now. So, let's begin the horoscope by the sun squaring the nodes of the moon right off the gate. Now, we can say so much about this energy, but let's say so little. On one hand, it's short term, and on the other hand, other planets, for example, Venus, already rubbed this in. And then Mercury will catch up with the sun in the following days, weeks, and will rub it in as well, when it will have it hold its own square with the nodes of the moon. And then the nodes of the moon in January finally move into the Pisces Virgo axis. And I don't even know if to say fortunately or unfortunately, because this applies every single time the nodes change signs in any way, any sign, because it will be more opportune for some archetypes and more difficult or sluggish or something not so comfortable for other archetypes. So, when the nodes shift, this is when for some it's heaven, for others it's the opposite. So, this is always the case. But the North Node in Pisces, feeling wise, it's like a high. It's like a drug for the next 18 months. Okay, eclipses and this trigger, that trigger. Delicate, right? Conjunctions. Painful conjunctions to a certain extent. But within a high, even the pain is something else. You know, when you undergo an operation, if we look at it from a Virgo, the South Node in Virgo, so that's totally on, as butchery, as well, a piece of your living body is, even if not cut out, done something with. So you're being cut open, right? Living, you're alive and you're being cut open. However, South Node in Virgo, let's not look at it that way. No, 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 no. Let's look at it North Node in Pisces way. Healing, general anesthetic. Well, general anesthetic not only is eclipse energy, but also where usually people get something positive out of it, a big life change. I've been on the other side. Anything that Piscean. So that is a good thing, usually, even if it's a scary thing, a bad thing, surgery. So there's this type of energy. And the other thing, Spice, is dreamy, the high. Again, everything washing into one. Let me give you a silly example, but it's not even that silly. When you go to a really hardcore muscle gym guy, or and nowadays even girl person, well, what they're doing is sheer pain and torture, but to them it's now pleasure, big pleasure, pleasure big time, pleasure which me will never in a million years feel and even be able to comprehend, even with my most sophisticated psychic or whatever skills and senses, because that dimension requires the breaking point of pain, and you know what I'm saying, Saturnian stuff, Saturn and Pisces, right? So that is alien to me, regardless of how sophisticated I am, and that's fair. But that's what I'm talking about. Everything washing into, it's not painful anymore, it's pleasure. The fatigue, the muscle ruptures, the diet. Well, if I look at it in a Virgo way, because I can only be Virgo because I'm an outsider, right? I am not initiated in that dimension. That looks to me like pure torture and a life of depravity and cruelty to oneself. But I'm profane, so how else would it look like to me? You know what I mean? To my own defense. I'm profane. I'm just I'm actually the most profane because I have Pisces ascendant. I am a not physical person. I'm ethereal, but so much so that even to people who even don't believe that there's spirit, or even they know that I'm spirit. So much so. So, of course, I'm the most profane. How could I possibly see it otherwise? But do you see the Pisces Virgo axis? And the South, I know that I cannot criticize, but what they're living is Pisces. They made it work. They benefit from it. It's positive, it's healthy, makes them happy in a real way. It connects them to the earth. It is useful in 10 trillion ways in life. There you go. They alchemize something, but onto the physical plane, onto their bodies. For some people, their genetic configuration in a physical way can be bypassed. Who am I to, wow. I can say, wow, this is exactly the energy that we are living and gonna be living all through the week, all through the month, all through next January too. That is this reality, everything washes into one. This is where now okay, sorry, I canceled that. I wanted to say the example of the martyrdom, but for reasons everyone understands, I'm not gonna, even though that from a spiritual perspective is so real, but I can't. No. So let's use another example where something that is not so nice, something that is usually seen as harmful or melancholic, or simply said, the bad, the unwanted, undesired, is good. However, Virgo, the other end of the axis, is exactly like that. The same opposite signs, but the same accomplishment, right? Virgo is like the monk. Virgo is like the obsessed worker. Virgo is like the loyal, devoted slave. I have to repeat, loyal and devoted slave. Virgo is when the dog brings you his leash with smiles and all that, but it's a leash. It's the fact that nothing will erase the leash. And nothing will erase the fact that even if you take your dog's leash off, invisibly it's still there. So that's Pisces Virgo also. And all of these patterns are going to be played out all through the week. In relationships, at work, in family, the leash, both the physical and the invisible, is going to be there. Just put it into your context. Power dynamics, relationships. Who does what? And who's the yin yang? But Piscean way, who the physical boy and girl is in the relationship doesn't matter. And when I say physical boy and girl, this goes for same-sex couples as well, because their bodies doesn't matter, right? And sometimes in life, the roles change. And this is very specific to Virgo. Every time the South Node hits Virgo, roles in power dynamics for a short period reverse. Where, and as I said, the type of couple you are doesn't matter. Who is usually the dominant, the masculine, fatedly, karmically, circumstantially, quantum physically, whatever, will step quite comfortably into the opposite role and vice versa. And this is that year when life is so weird, so funny, so I can't believe I did that. I can't believe my husband did that. I can't believe my whatever did that. And this can be very, very positive if we wanted to. This is only gonna be negative if you're twisted, obsessed victim mentality person, where I am gonna be a victim no matter what. Sorry. Yes, then it's gonna be ultra bad. If you have a dose of playfulness, spirit, inner child, humor, anything lighthearted, imaginative inside of you, then you can turn this into something really funny and nice, and just let me give you a really easy to imagine example, and an example that chances are it's actually going to play out in the world because it's so directly translated, the astrology to fact. There's a very dominant husband with the typical classical submissive, very feminine, fragile, cutie type of wife. He has I don't know, falls down the ladder. Well, he's in bed for 6 months. You can imagine who's gonna be the man in the family situation house for the next 6 months. But that 6 months is going to transform them in the best way possible outside of their wanting. Because if this would be optional, both of them would 1,000,000,000,000% opt out. But it isn't optional, so they have no choice. He is going to teach her how to toughen up and what it means to be sometimes him. She is going to teach him that, sweetie, sometimes you're just a vulnerable little child and it is what it is, and play along. Everyone is happier if you shut up, put your masculinity aside, and play along your little boy. Accept it. And this lesson is something infinitely beautiful. It was until ultra modern psychology started becoming popularized. So somewhere until the 80s, when it turned us into, I don't know. This is always fated. One way or another, this always played out in any family, because there were so very many families where she was always, from the first day they met to the last breath, the dominant. She had the pants, she made all the decisions, and him being the man was always just a facade, and everyone was ultra happy with it. Them, the couple, and everyone else, everyone was very happy, okay? Because they were honest. Everyone was, they desired them, each other, to be like that, because their pure, sheer instincts knew that this works for them. Even that couple had a moment when she broke down and she became the typical, average, little fragile little girl who she never was in her life, ever. And he has no choice but to be the man that she is usually. But it's easy for him because all he needs to do is do what she usually does, and it's easy game. A lesson for both of them. This is such a week where these examples are so important, because you can imagine it so easily, and imagining it, how it feels, is the true interpretation of the energy, not the technicality of it, not going into Freudian and Jungian psychoanalysis. No, this is the feeling, really. What to expect, that this is what to expect. When the boss, the manager, that breaks down, you become, and you're like a, how did I become the boss, even if it's for 2 hours? I don't know what I'm doing, I don't like, but still you do a very fine job. And life taught you something big. Power game shift. Long story short, well, this is an episode of Sun squaring the nodes, where in order for me to achieve, or to pull through, or to be strong, or to whatever, avoid, like, volcano eruptions in the family unions, family gathering, family visits, exes meet at this particular, actually, exes meet usually at the beginning of next week, when the children passing to this side, that side takes place. So it's gonna be like walking on eggshells. Oh, let's just be honest about it. And the sun squaring the nodes makes this extra sensitive, extra, I don't even know. This is when there's the very, very extra sensitive, hateful, full of spite and this everything bad cat, who, even if you get the powers of an animal whisperer or any magic, that cat will not be nice ever in its existence. And it's not even traumatized. You can't explain why. It just is like that. So all of us are going to be that cat. So, especially at the beginning of the week. So let's, and all through week, as I said, Saturn, Jupiter square. What does life even mean? Right? So like a Christmas, but with a certain kind of existential crisis. And if we look outside, we immediately shut the window, unplug the internet, turn off mobile phone. I want to go back to the Stone Age. And if your husband, wife, children, whoever is in your Cancerian world starts to talk BS, you take the tape and don't, no offense, just shut up. So this type of energy. So yeah. And Mars opposes Pluto. Let's not forget. Powerlessness, irritation, or ultra. In some cases, it's so much power that it's powerless, if that even makes sense. Oversaturation. Let me give you a really sad example that a lot of my listeners, because you're that type of people, I can just feel it, are gonna experience. You are that person, regardless if it's family role, in the neighborhood, at work, in your career, spiritually, even if you are an hyper, even if you are like a spirit in human body, then you're gonna get it in the spirit world. Not only this year is no exception of you being that support, the shoulder, the worker, the one who does it, but you're gonna ruthlessly so. You can't even get upset. No, this is weird where this year you can't even get upset. So this is how it's gonna play out. But let's spice things up. So Venus is in Aquarius. I don't even know how to express this energy other than, okay, I wanna be me with all my weirdness and my specifics. So that's why I said, shut the window and unplug the internet. I wanna be me, but with my weirdo family situation or whatever being me means to me. But Aquarius has another side. However, I want to be in decency, but whatever that means collectively. So this is double standards. I want to be me, but in the detriment of collective decency. So this is where we're a bit fake to ourselves, but this is supposed to be like, you know what I mean? This is where we're a bit hypocritical. Because, yeah, me, but that must be conditioned by big decency. I don't want to be me in a rebellious or negative or way where I suffer for that. No, no, no. I want to be me, but in total comfort. Right? I want to be me, insufferable little these holidays, but I want everyone to love me, right? So this is this energy. The fact that both Moon and Black Moon Lilith at the same time trine this, you are gonna get love. Chances are. There is love there. There's even ego food there where you will get people or situations this holiday season this week where, yeah, someone or a situation or something will feed the little, bee, the ego, yeah. But at the same time, Venus squares Uranus and every other, most planet there will hold minor aspects that I'm not gonna include, but know that the minor aspects make the good have big, awkward, cringe, uncomfortable sides, and the bad sometimes be the good. So it's not as straightforward, dreamy, easy as I make it sound. A minor aspect. Let me give an example. Big karma and happiness, but with diarrhea. Sorry, I'm so sorry, but it is gonna happen. A minor aspect triggering a physical house, right? You know what I mean? big happiness and big good can still have a lot of physical discomfort with it. You know what I mean? Or you're living through a divorce, a painful divorce or separation, but your soul midwife, or how you say that, your best friend or whoever, whichever person will fulfill this position, is a junkie. So you can imagine that you will feel everything and anything, but not the pain and not the typical divorce after divorce. You will probably laugh with tears because you're gonna get the special treatment. And that type of, usually the hippie Rasta type of person's love comes with highs, right? Even if not, it will come with something magical, something Neptunian, something alchemical. That person, and it doesn't matter who that is. It can be your child. It can be anyone who life gives you. Well, but that person, as long as they're, you're under their wing, you will not live the typical things that any person will live. The I'm alone, the life is tragic, what's wrong, why was I left, or why didn't it work out, or you will live everything but not that. Or even if you live that, well, you live it in such a high level philosophical way that instead of the dark night of the soul, you're living a spiritual high. You're that person will make you be grateful for everything bad that ever happened to you in this incarnation and others. So this is where what I'm saying is everyone has a special ally. That special ally, Venus squaring Uranus. It's bad, but it's good. It's so weird. I would never do this in a trillion years, but right now I really don't care. Like my divorce example. Right now you don't care. You allow your best friend, but who's a big weirdo or whatever, for your child. How many people don't have big weirdo children? They love them to bits, but they will not live in the same dimension as their children. The love is very much there, but the you know what I mean. Everyone's living their own reality and in peace and harmony, but that's it. Sometimes you're dragged into the reality of exactly who you don't want to you know what I mean. And that is not only okay, but super fun and memorable. Let's speak about the bad sides of Venus squaring Uranus. Let's just political conflict, turmoil, anything political that is not okay. Because that's Venus in Aquarius. Mistrust, and each and every day, the political whatever system or is uglier and uglier in everyone's eyes because it's collective. That's part of it. Financial instability, crypto. What happens with crypto? Uranus, we don't know. But Mars retrograde has instinct, big instinct. So your instinct knows. But something happens with crypto. Something also happens with value on the internet, or value that is virtual, value that is international. And, anything cyber, well, can go a bit haywire this week. And I don't necessarily mean Bog and Mercury retrograde wise, but rather where someone wants it to manipulate things in certain ways wise. So yeah, but that again, you will say, well, that's just part of 2024 in a nutshell. Yeah. So, yeah, and this is 2024's winter period. Of course, to everyone, when I say winter on my hemisphere, I know that there are listeners who live in the opposite hemisphere, like Australia, so put it in context for you. I'm not you know that I'm unprofessional, and I prefer things highly unprofessional. Professional, even the word scares me, intimidates me. I run away from it. So you're never gonna get a professional horoscope from me ever, ever. I hope. I hope. I hope. So, what I wanna say with this is Venus squaring. But the positive side of Venus squaring Uranus is an every weird, unusual. I never in a million years thought I would. Is good. It works. It does the job. It's pleasant. So yeah, but remember, that doesn't mean it won't lead to conflict, fights, and people will have a good opinion about it. For example, Venus's love. The weirdo, whatever guy that you met and you love him, you're absolutely into a big crush. That doesn't mean you have to take him home to Christmas dinner because mommy, daddy may not love him, like him, agree with him all that much. Quite the opposite. So taking the weirdo home and showing it to other people, Aquarius, right? Other people, is not just keep it, how should I say, not necessarily secret, but don't share your happiness for the time being until you know what to do with the person. But of course, that doesn't mean don't be with them. Just, play safe right now. But the other side of this is you might be the weirdo, in which case, sometimes even weirdo needs normal. So, you know what? Don't judge normal. Sometimes it's okay to be normal. Not everything has to be unique, revolutionary, principalistic, Uranian. Sometimes it's okay to be just average or just a grain of sand. No one really, right? It's sometimes it's very, very okay not to be unique and not to have unique. Venus to have, right? Venus. So normal is at times everyone's best friend. So moving on, there's another aspect that is gonna be a little bit complicated, and that is gonna, light fuses, spark fuses. On the 26th, we have on one hand not Venus, Black Moon Lilith opposing Chiron. But at the same time, Jupiter opposes Mercury. And you heard about the Jupiter opposing Mercury so much in the previous horoscopes, because on one hand, this is the third and final time. And on the other hand, part of Mercury retrograde. So, and mutual reception. You already know this. This is a rather powerful, more nuanced, more get things done opposition, even between these two, the same planets, than usual because they're in each other's signs. And this makes it, as I said, relevant, powerful, not common. This is where we draw big conclusions in life, right? We draw what we want to believe. This is the what I want to believe type of moment. And And for that to be healthy, we search for it first. Trial and error. We see both the devil and the angel. Because otherwise, God doesn't make sense, right? Without the contrast, without the driving force. Or without the angel, the devil doesn't have any. If without the, without duality, the angel and the devil are just one, the same, very same, not even separate. Just like oppositions in astrology, just like, how should I say, demon and angel. The Kabbalistic way of looking at it is where they're just each other's selves, higher self, animalistic self, shadow. But they're actually the same being, right? Anyway, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. But this is the way we need to understand this energy, because it's the same thing. That's why we need to see both of its sides before we can believe anything about anything, anyone. May this be a philosophy, religion, faith, personal conviction of any kind. What we want to believe, right? The healthy expression of what we want to believe. Because first we search for it. But then the other opposition online is Mars and Pluto, Mars retrograde here. So again, we need this. It's non-optional. It is what it is. But then Black Moon Lilith opposing Chiron. Oh boy, are our self wounds, I am wounds, sexual wounds, confidence wounds, especially in my masculinity, femininity, put it into context, are gonna be triggered big time this week. This is gonna be, yeah. However, we know that Black Moon Lilith, non-philosophically speaking, the way you have to envisage this energy is a typical female toxicity, of the lowest kind, where she is not just a toxic word, but also provocative in a very shameful way, and she puts salt on the wounds with pure intent and mocks you. That's Black Moon Lilith in the worst possible expression. But if Black Moon Lilith's energy, regardless if it's a man or a woman or a child or a pet, even if that is playing up, things are gonna be heated, right? It's not gonna be nice. And that energy can be anything. I said, a pet, a moment, you in your own self. Imagine a moment when someone has the most vengeful period, and I'm so sorry to depict this of their lives, but this particular season, it can you see how, in a way, it's fated? It does not depend on the person at whatsoever, but what is guaranteed that they're not going to be sane that week. Even if usually they're the sanest person that ever existed, when she has such, as I said, the most vengeful period of, she's not going to be sane. Nor should anyone expect her to be. Not even her from herself. It is what it is. But Christmas mustn't be ruined necessarily if you allow her to lock herself up and not take it as anything, not hold it personally, not feel guilty, accept her sacrifice. None of what I said is easy to do or even possible. But then don't understand the situation, that it is what it is. Everyone can only do so much. And this can be funny rather than vengeful and toxic. This is the energy that is this week. So this is why I have, rather than to Mars you and Pluto you and Neptune you, I rather give the example. So Black Moon Lilith is gonna be triggering our wounds. However, as I said, any opposition can have good. But this has more bad. Why? This can also play out where I'm the healer and I know you have a wound. I'm healing you. I don't care what you want, who you are. I'm healing you. The aggressive healer, the bad healer, the bully healer, where you're healing me, but it's a bit almost like a rape, really, you know? So that type of, and imagine that some parents are like that, where the child has to hide the wound in fear of being healed. And this is where it doesn't matter who the parent takes it out on, because sometimes the parent takes it out either on the other parent or herself. I'm a bad mother, or I'm not taking care of you. Why this, why that, or going as much as genetically into her, blaming her grandparents even. So, it doesn't matter what taking out means or on who, the child will become a chameleon. This is the type of energy we're speaking of. So it's not going to be easy. Let's not obsessively want to heal the other person, right? But at the same time, this is where there's that person who never, ever, 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 ever wants to heal. Something snaps. This is the first time they want to heal. Surprise, surprise, no healer will take you seriously. They will not trust you. It is what, you know what I mean? I know that this, you thought, as the wounded person, I finally let my guard down. Surely Perseus will fly into my window, because this was so hard for. No, he won't. You know why? Not even the universe takes you seriously first time, because they're used to your frequency that, no, we hide the wound. We don't ask for help. If you program this into the universe, first the universe has to rub his glasses. Is this real? Is he really doing it? I'm not believing. I'm still waiting. Is this real or not? This is the universe. That's why maybe on the first go you won't get a healer or sympathy or anything. You won't get help on the first go, but you will get help on the second go. You know what I mean? So don't be discouraged, because this is when the universe is such a mirror. What we forced the universe to get used to us with, now we're going to get it big time. The fact that we changed the inner rhythm, we need to wait a bit until the external rhythm changes, because it won't be instant. Okay, for others, because this is Aquarius, the duality, they will experience the opposite. They change inside of them, knowing fully well that Rome wasn't built in 2 days, and that the universe will take a time until it gets real. For those type of situations, it will be the opposite, where you feel that you changed inside, but you very comfortably go to sleep knowing that, well, it's not going to be tomorrow when life is going to reflect the change in a real sense. And you wake up in the morning, you feel some kind of weird tingle in your stomach, and as you start your day, everything will start immediately being the opposite. The new you. But that's where you are already tearful, because, oh my goodness, I didn't mean tomorrow literally. Well, it came. Whatever you wished for, it came. This is where the universe is a bit of a trickster right now. Why? This is the only way it can change us. It can kick us out from being average citizens to being real people. Because the average citizen is not a real person. The average citizen is a hypocritical animal, a tamed animal. It is tamed, but it a tamed animal must know that he is a tamed animal and not identify themselves with a higher being, with a civilized higher being. Because no. The civilized higher being can make an emotion become reality. The tamed animal can't. That's the difference between the two of them. The tamed animal can just be a really, really exemplary, good, cooperative element, happy, perfectly, in perfect happiness. Because that's why they surrendered the animal. So this is the big difference in energy. We must not mistake moments when we are just a tamed animal and not really anything higher than that, and moments when we are not just a tamed animal, I'm a higher being. Different situations, positions, and relationships in life. Know thyself. And this is that week. So, and then shortly after this week, at the very end of the week, in a few days, New Year. Okay, not necessarily astrologically speaking, but New Year, new cycle, and what a new, this is really a new. Not necessarily that it begins with the 1st of January, because no, not on the 1st of January, but this 2025 is really going to dish out. Better said, start dishing out, preparing visibly, noticeably, directly dishing out the new to the table, because Saturn starts its journey into Aries. And that is very important. Okay, every 30 years or so, but this 30-year cycle, especially because it done a lot that it usually doesn't. For example, met Pluto in his home sign of Capricorn once every 500 years. And so much more. So Saturn is not feeling his old earthly self anymore, because the paradigm shifted into air for the next 200 years. So Saturn is his Aries self now, and that's a very different Saturn than the earthly Saturn. The Aries Saturn is like the intellectual father. Okay, he is a bit cold per se, but very smart, very wise, very helpful. Even if he's not hugging you to death. And even if he expects you to not be spoiled rotten, and even if expects you to have a maturity you don't have. He's unfair in his expectations, but he's not beating you. He's not punishing you. He's not really getting ultra big time in your way. So you can't really, he's not the earthly self, right? And the reason why I said this example, because Saturn is our reality matrix. The earthly, the calcification, the bone in our reality. Even like snails, even they have Saturn, the shell, the solid octopuses or whatever have it inside of them, their jaw or whatever. So, yeah, Saturn is not his usual, very heavily earthly Saturn self due to the great conjunction that of Saturn and Jupiter that happened in Aquarius, 0 degrees of Aquarius on December 2020, but also the fact that he's in Pisces, for one hand water, the other hand pure ether that cannot be solidified in a classical way. But also the end, finality, release, wrapping up the dream, but in a different way as well. The dream, well, let's already make it real. For example, world peace, a dream, an ideal. Let's already make it real. Do we have the technology? Saturn will ask. Actually, Saturn asked firsthand in 2020 and 2021, Uranus. Uranus, do we have the technology? Uranus said yes. It's asking now Jupiter, do we have the maturity? Jupiter saying no. So Saturn is trying to think of ways where we have the technology, we have the mind, but we don't have the emotional and spiritual maturity. Quite the opposite. We have big problems there. How do I make this work? I know I have to address the issue of maturizing a whole species emotionally at the same time collectively with one shot. But how do I do this? Let's play a game of Aries, right? Goddess Aries, her apple. Chaos. Russian roulette. Something will happen. One calamity, one war, one asteroid, one disease, one, I don't know, demonic entity, beast, invasion, science experiment gone bad, one something, Uranus's dark side, will do the trick of scaring us into maturity, allowing maturity to set in. But why? Because we are not immature, we are choosing to be. As a species, everyone. Why? Doesn't matter. But the thing is, we're part of Mother Nature. Know it or not, want it or not, like it or not. So we're starting to pose a big problem for Mother Nature. Because she is maturing, and she will only take a maturity for so long. Tens of thousands of years. When we ourselves had only her level of maturity, when we had her level of frequency, we were excused anything and everything. When she is higher than us, when it should be the opposite way. Why? Because we channel the impossible, the absolute infinite ideal that can never ever become real in matter spirit. We should be doing that, right? We should be inspiring Mother Nature to accomplish the impossible, like total harmony and the Buddhist way of looking at. We should be inspiring Mother Nature to do exactly that. We're not doing, not only are we not doing our jobs, we're preventing her from being okay even without us, and not in a bad, vengeful, in a purely coexistent way. We're starting to pose a big problem. We're starting to be the bad problem child, both for Mother Nature and for what's beyond her. And so this is where You can imagine how something is telling mother, well, discipline your children because they're out of control. So yes, there will something eventually will come along that will scare us into being mature, and then immediately we will understand mother nature, smiles, and a quick evolution and growth. But we need to get there somehow. And that will have, of course, for certain members of our species who have a certain frequency that is incompatible with a much greater level collaboration with one another than was ever possible in any timeline, will be pushed out. So that is part that it can't be otherwise. But as I said, somewhere, somehow, something will come along to scare us and to frighten us, shock us into maturing and leaving differences aside. So that's not really a question of if, only when. It is a question of if, because we're perfectly able to just do that. You know what? Just choose to do that and it happens automatically. Why does it happen automatically? Because we have everything. Literally. And we know we do. We know this. This isn't something that we don't know. This is something that, and we know that we're choosing to be immature, collectively speaking. This is a choice and we're living with it. So this is exactly the Jupiter Saturn square. The big part of it, being aware that as a species we're choosing immaturity, and next year when the square will resume, but in Aries Cancer axis, that's when we're gonna react to it. This is just awareness, then comes a reaction, both individually and collectively. So this concludes today's horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Wishing everyone blessed celebrations wherever you are and whichever way and shape and form you celebrate. And of course, let us all of us send light and love, on one hand, to those who are beyond the veil and got there in very set and unwanted and even unfated circumstances. Because aggression is when you go against fate. But also everyone who is on our side of the veil, of course, and the whole cosmos itself. Thank you again and thank you everyone. Thank you so much for all the love. Thank you so much for all the support. Like, you've been so very kind, so very generous, so very loving to me, especially this year, that, trust me, many times I froze. I spent simply hours of my day where a comment or a kind email or a nice gesture or a hug froze me. That, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this actually happened to me type of moments in life. I'm not used to these. And I actually had so many of these this year that, thank you so very much, everyone. And until next time, and no, not next year, because I'll still have some materials this year. Until next time, bye for now.